coming back and forth now for the past 2 years,
Oh,
and
okay. Oh, you're new. You're new here.
I'm being newly baptized. Yes,
Yes.
and
Baptized is right. Trust me, boy.
we were talking a bit about you were catching on to some of the culture shock that I'm going through,
Yeah.
and you were sharing a little bit. So before we even talk about the whole FinSAC thing, I wanted to have you just give a little bit of background about you and when you lived in Jamaica, lived abroad, and you've been back. So you were already been baptized in the
Yes,
cultural shock.
ma'am. Yes, yes. With a
Um,
passion.
really,
Yeah.
yeah. So can I start there? Just tell me a little bit about, where were you born, where you come from, and then
I'm from St. Mary, retreat in St. Mary. My whole family, my generations come back from Scotland, England, Australia, because I'm building a gene tree now. And didn't
ah,
realize I had so many relatives from all over. So, but we were born and grew up in St. Mary, the normal Jamaican way of bringing up kids, not what I see these days. So
what would you say? What would you say normal? When you said normal to
okay,
you?
when I say normal, a mother and father, the father supplied, the mother was the homekeeper. She stayed home, took care of
Yes.
the kids. There were 8 of us, 5 girls, 3 boys. And
Mm.
going to church every Sunday, going to Sunday school, usual
Mm-hmm.
thing, take your wash out.
Mm-hmm.
Once a month we get a castor oil wash out
Yes, yes, yes,
and all those goodies.
yes.
Then as we grew and migrated across Jamaica, because for example, I have 2 sisters who were married to judges, um, resident magistrate, and then judges, and then when in the night, when was it that Michael Manley? When Michael Manley was in power, I had my 2 kids were born in Jamaica. However, it was in the 70s, actually, when I'm going home from work one evening and going to the supermarket just to get milk for my kids, and the shelves were empty. The shelves were empty. I couldn't get it. And I went home. I said to my husband, I said, listen, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't get food to buy. Those were the Michael Manley days when him said, better must come, and who didn't like what I'm doing. There are 5 flights a day to Miami. So I took him up on his option and we migrated to Miami. Yeah.
So what were the reason for the empty shelves? What was going on?
Truthfully, my memory fails me as to everything that was going on, but the policies he was to us Jamaicans, it gave the impression he was trying to duplicate Cuba, because he literally sent persons, especially men, to Cuba claiming to learn construction. When Jamaica holds some of the best architects and construction engineers in the world,
Mm.
what we learned later, it was to learn brigadista warfare. That's what it was.
What? Learn
Yeah,
what?
that's what I was told, warfare. Because, in Cuba, and then, as a matter of fact, I have a niece that owns an apartment here, and she was working with someone who brought in construction people from Cuba to work here, and she rented her apartment to one of them. And basically, at the end of the week or the month, when it is salary time, his money had to go back to Cuba. And then they'll send him what they feel he should make out of it. Okay?
Mm.
So I know something like that wasn't going to run in Jamaica with Jamaican people, but he was trying it. I don't think he succeeded. He failed. But what had happened by the time for him to leave office or whatever, most of the people had migrated. Most of the people had
And when
migrated,
you say most of the people, you're talking about maybe the middle class,
middle and upper class,
middle and upper class.
right?
So
In
then all
droves.
that was left then
Mhm.
is
People
whomever
that
couldn't
were
get out.
right, they didn't have the money to go even to get a decent job. And he also started restricting what people should eat, how much you should eat, and then how, for example, this was one of his policies. He claims he was for the little man. And he's telling the little man that when you see the big people them uptown in a them big house, them fi share the house with uno. So uno go in and uno make place in the house for uno self. And literally, I know of people who were in the process of constructing their dream homes, and they just locked it up and left it. They just locked it and left it. And then he started restricting how much US dollars you could get per year and how much you could carry overseas, to the point where they started doing inspection of people at the airport when you're going to see how much money you are carrying. So, for example, I know one of them was $150 a year. So if you're going to go, you have to apply for it. So they know. So if you're going a second or a third time, you have already used your 150.
Oh,
What people used to do, huh? Yeah. So what people used to do, they used to take the money and the cash, and then they rolled it up in their hand and hold it like a fist, because when they search you, they're not really paying attention to your hand. Some people tell me that the Chinese used to put when they're carrying their kids, they would put the money in balloons and blow up the balloon. So when the kids going through the airport, punching the balloon and kicking it, that was the way of taking out the money. Yeah. So having gone through that and eventually left Jamaica, I was away for 21 years. My kids are grown up. It's on a visit to Jamaica that to my parents at Christmas one year. And when we were leaving, my father said to me, by this time they were heading into their 70s. My father said to me, you know, your mother and I are getting sick. I know you guys have your families, but it would be so nice if one of you would come back and stay with us until we leave this earth. And at that point, I had no intention of coming back to Jamaica, really. But when I went back to the US and found out what my husband, who's my ex-husband now, was doing, I decided, you know, I just packed up everything, bought a 40-foot trailer, packed up everything in the trailer. One of my brothers had a car lot there where he charged people for parking their big rigs in the evenings. So I parked my trailer there, packed my stuff in it, packed a suitcase, and came back to Jamaica. And I came back the January. My father died the February. So I was happy I came back to give them the care and the time that they needed spent on them. And my mother died 5 months after.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was so happy. So after they died, it's me now saying, okay, what now? My kids were already in college. So, you know, I figured I have to sit down and figure, do I really want to go back? And that's when I met my second husband here. But I did go back for a while and kept coming and going to now until I decided to just settle in Jamaica. And it's my second husband now who had this FINSAC issue, because he just said to me one morning, can you come down to my office because something's happening there I cannot figure out. He was a construction.
So wait, so now where you have returned to Jamaica, and you had remarried to a Jamaican?
Well, I hadn't gotten married yet. We were just friends at the time.
Okay, and he was a Jamaican though.
He was a developer, commercial and residential projects, and doing very well.
Oh.
He said he's having issues because money is coming every month and yet his checks are bouncing. So I decided to go down. As a matter of fact, it was on my way back to the States. I had a week to go. And I went down to his office only to find out. I said to him, that your bookkeeper give me your general ledger, your checkbook, your deposit. So when she gave them to me, he asked her, he said, how much do I have in the bank right now? Well, she said, okay, soon come. She went and was away for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and said to him, where is she? So when I went in her office, I saw her on the phone talking to the bank, finding out the bank how much was the balance. So I went back into his office and I said, She's asking the bank. The bank can't tell you how much you have in the bank because you have checks out there that hasn't reached the bank yet. So when I started looking through the general ledger, I realized this was in September. She hadn't made any journal entry from June. So I said to him, no wonder you're having bounce checks. She hasn't had no accounting, not done bookkeeping from June, and we're in September. Anyhow, the long and short of it was I went through, and what I picked up in Jamaica, when you in the construction industry, especially when you are going to start a business, or if you're in the business and you're getting on new projects, most people, if anyone, has the money to start out on this project because it takes a lot of putting, fencing around and all. So usually what the construction industry, persons in the industry did, they would go to the bank with the contract that they have, present it to the bank manager and said,
in anticipation of receiving these funds, they're able to
receiving the
extend
funds,
some-
right? Because there's a contract that says every month you're going to present a requisition for whatever you have used or whatever you have done, you will be reimbursed and so on. So this was made, and when I'm looking at the documents for the demand loan, I'm noticing that he is paying there. First of all, he started out like 18% interest on the loan.
18.
18, 1-8.
Okay.
And money comes in and it's going from the project directly to the bank. So he will know when they advise him that the money has been deposited, then he know what he can go and check and see what he can use out of it. But what he's not paying attention personally to his bookkeeping. And the person who is doing the bookkeeping, as well as he had an outside accountant, obviously weren't doing their work. So what I found out was, if the payment came in even 1 day late, they would charge a penalty. They would charge a penalty for the late payment. So they're charging the interest, monthly interest plus the payment. What they would do was charge it on the demand loan, and they would put the balance as well on his checking account and charging penalty and interest again. So I said to him, they are compounding your interest because they're charging you that interest twice. No, that was only who was my husband after that. So when he found this out and started talking to the bank manager the bank that he was dealing with, the manager was someone he knew personally. So he called her and was talking to her. But within, I would say, 6 months, the interest rate had skyrocketed to 120%. So there was no way in hell that what was coming in, and he has different projects, that he could maintain that. And I said to him, listen,
100. Wait, you said he was paying 120%.
20% interest on the loan, always on the balance outstanding. So if you go and you get a loan for $2 million, right? And you have paid, say, $500,000 on that already. When and then they advise you that your loan interest has been revised and it's up to 120. There's nothing you can do to stop that, prevent that, nothing. It is what it is. So you have to accept it. But
was that something when he initially had the loan, he signed to that?
No, what it was the loan documents, the options that the loan documents changes to the agreement. The options that they gave you would include them charging going up, but it has never happened before, so they don't expect it. Because what most Jamaicans did not know at the time, there were a lot of issues going on with the bank, and that's when they decided to institute FINSAC, because they
what does FINSAC mean?
Okay,
what's
the Financial Sector adjustment company. Now, this is a private entity formed by the government. Okay? My my terminology for FINSAC is financial sacrifice. Because that was what it was. Now, what was happening was, with this happening and happening to hundreds of people who have business in and loans with the banks, because Omar Davis testified at the inquiry, verbatim, the banks are dealing in activities that would turn my hair white. He did not specify what those activities were. Later on, I found out from persons who go to the bank to get to see what is happening with their accounts. Sometimes the bank managers change, or a bank manager is left, isn't there anymore. But long and short of it, what was happening is, when you go to the bank to get a loan and you take the title for your collateral, if depending, the collateral, of course, is going to value more than the loan that you're getting. So if, say the collateral is values 70 million, and you only want a 10 million loan. There, what you don't know, and what we didn't know, is that you leave the bank with your collateral, believing once you pay your loan, you go back and you pick up your collateral. The bank managers themselves and other workers in the bank were using your title to get loans for themselves.
For themselves?
Yes. We were never notified of it. We had no idea. So what is happening now? You have a loan for 10 million and your bank manager take out an additional 10 million for himself. Because the value of it is greater than that, he could take an additional exactly
on yours.
Right. Now, one of the things that was happening also is that, and it didn't happen to my husband, but it happened to other persons that I've spoken to. When you go and you take out that loan, they will have different loan accounts on that same one loan. So that when you make a payment, it doesn't necessarily go to the account that you took your loan on, but it goes to other accounts. And I imagine now, knowing that the bank people were using your titles, is that they were monitoring. So, because there was one guy that was FINSAC, his wife was an accountant. And when he started having issues, he told his wife, he said, listen, you need to go through the books and finding out what's going wrong. And luckily for him, he kept all his receipts. So when he went back and going through the documents over the months on the correspondence he's getting from the bank, he's realizing that his payments, when he made a payment, 1 month it would go to loan number, so and so and so and so, and another month it went to a different loan number. So he's saying something not right. I only have one loan. So as a matter of fact, NCB sued this guy for non-payment, and he went to court. Eventually, this judge threw it out because this man had all his receipts. NCB didn't have all the receipts, and it was thrown out. No,
it was thrown out.
The judge threw it. The guy didn't have to pay any more money. The borrower didn't have to pay any more money because the NCB could not justify produce the documents to justify what they were asking for. Now, one of the things at the inquiry, the manager of FINSAC was asked, when the loans were taken from the bank and sold to Jamaica Redevelopment, at what stage was this loan? Was it for the original loan, or was it from the balance that was owing, or what? And the response was the original loan. So whatever payment.
Can you repeat that for me, please? I was just
he was asked, the manager of FINSAC was asked, at what stage was when the loan was sold to Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation? Where, at what point in time? Was it the balance owing? Was it the original loan? Where? It was the original loan. He said it was the original loan. So all the payments that were there, that what was made, God knows if those were not considered. So I know that when we formed the FinSAC Association, one of the attorneys that was helping us,
so tell me about so was it just how many people were involved in this type of or were victims in this?
Empress Aria, I wish I could tell you, but well, it's 44,000 people went under, businesses went under.
44,000 businesses?
Businesses went under, yes.
What?
Yes. Yes. So when we formed the association to address the matter, we were operating out of this attorney who was helping us out of his office, and he prepared a letter for us, for every member to sign, to take to Jamaica Redevelopment or to the bank or wherever to give us statements of account. They wouldn't sign for it. We could never get a statement of account. We never got a statement of account. If we were persons who went to the titles office to pull their title to see what's going on it. They were never able to get their titles. So it seemed to me that the titles, because one gentleman, when he went to the titles office, he went one day and the lady's going through the cabinet searching. She couldn't find his title. So he said he couldn't wait, I'll come back tomorrow. The next day he went back, she started the search again. And while she's searching, she just turned around and she looked at him. She says, tell me something. Were you FINSAC? He said, yes. She says, oh, and she pushed the drawer in. She says, those titles are not here. You have to talk to whoever was in charge at the title office at the time. So there was no title for you to see who got what.
So what was lost? 44,000 businesses at least were counted.
They went
on.
What happened is that once you could no longer pay the loan, for example, my husband borrowed $10 million. He paid $52 million. And at the end of paying $52 million, they told him he still owed $85 million. Yes. Now you tell me, how do you figure that out? Because I couldn't calculate it. Because you see, the payments were not going to the loan account. So the balances are carrying forward and the interest and the penalties are growing on it.
So where were the payments going?
Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows?
Right.
We have no idea.
So then this impacted primarily businesses in Jamaica?
Yes, because the businesses were the main people. When a lot of people don't have money put down to start your business or to do whatever when your business. A construction company is running continuously, getting different jobs, and you have to pay your staff. So you have to have enough money to pay.
So just a couple of these companies, they weren't all construction companies?
No, they were different.
There were different types of companies.
Yeah.
And after this
of
whole situation, they went out of business.
Well, eventually, one by one, they folded.
44,000 businesses.
Because they were even supplying company. There was one gentleman that they told him when his documents were transferred to Jamaica Redevelopment. Jamaica Redevelopment advised him that he owed $12 million US. So he had friends and family overseas that lent him the money to pay for it. And the morning he was going down there, he called me. He says, "Oh, Miss B, thank God me get the money to pay off my loan now. I'm going down there this morning to pay it off." I said, "Good for you. Just make sure you cross all your T's and dot all your I's." About 2 hours after that, he called me. When he called me and I answered. For a while, he didn't answer. So I called his name and I said, "Are you there? Are you hearing me?" And then he came on sounding very distressed. He says, "Can you imagine? I went down there, gave them a manager's check for my $12 million, and they're telling me now that I owe another $7 million for interest charges and whatever."
Oh my God.
Within 5 months, he went into cardiac arrest and died.
Oh my God.
His wife, a young woman, died 5 months after him. 5 months. I don't know if 5 is relative to anything, but that was what was happening. People were distressed. We have a handicapped man, Mishek Willis. Mr. Willis started out life as a higgler, a poor man. He started buying stuff, selling, buying, selling. And while his business is growing, he got an offer from a church to make curtains, I think, for them. He was all on the street making pillows to sell to keep for his family. He got married. He had 3 children, two boys and a girl. 2 girls, no, 4, 2 girls, 2 boys. The church offered him, if he could make some curtains for them, they would pay him so much. He didn't have enough money to do it. So he went to the bank that he was dealing with to borrow the money. And he borrowed 140,000 Jamaican dollars. The bank manager explained to him that when you get your money, just deposit. We'll keep you abreast as to what's happening, because he couldn't read and write very well even. Mr. Willis was able to buy himself a vehicle, to buy himself a 3-bedroom house in Patrick City. He started having children. He was able to hire a person to come in and take care of his children while he and his wife go roam the streets and sell. He was able to, the children grew up. His 2 boys were in UTech. And then one day he got a letter from the bank stating that he owed $11 million. Remember, no, he borrowed 140,000 Jamaican dollars. Now they're telling him he owes $11 million. There is no way in heaven or hell that he could afford to pay him $11 million. The bank manager had called him, the bank that he opened the account at, the bank manager had called him one day and said to him the few years before that he was moving from one bank to the other, and he wouldn't mind if Mr. Willis moved his account with him. And of course, he trusted his bank manager. So he went and did all the documentation and moved the account to the new bank that the bank manager was going to.
Which bank was this?
I don't remember. I don't remember, so I don't want to call the name.
Okay.
But it's only to get a letter. His loan also was turned over to Jamaica Redevelopment, only to get a letter that he owes him $11 million. They eventually threw him out of his house. Mr. Willis literally had to go into a shack where he had to surround it with sheets for doors, because when they come to throw you out of your house, you don't get no notice. Okay. So they come and they threw him out. He had nowhere to go with his family. One of his daughters was so traumatized. She would not even look outside. She's stuck inside that house. When he was able to get somewhere to rent that could give the boys room and the girls room, he had to pull his sons out of UTech because he couldn't pay the fee anymore. And one of the sons literally said to him one day, "Daddy, suppose I go out the street and get a gun and hold up somebody and take their money to buy food so we can eat. What would be wrong with that?" So his father said, "No, you couldn't do that. 2 wrongs don't make a right." The son looked at him and said, "Daddy, but you claim you did it the right way, and look at where we are. You did it the right way, and look at where we are. We have no food to eat." His wife developed cancer and died shortly thereafter. And until this day, as a matter of fact, Mr. Willis is living in they took his house and it went for years, nobody sold it. They threw him out. So some people offered to buy it, and one, as a matter of fact, he told me some lady in the neighborhood wanted to buy it, and her husband advised her, don't buy it. Don't buy it. You're buying somebody's sweat and tears. Don't buy it. So it probably still locked up there still over the years. But when they come to throw you out of your house, they come like 7 o'clock in the morning and tell you you have 2 hours to get out. So you have to move furniture, everything. One woman called me one morning when they were there with the police, and I'm not lying to you. When I one second, give me a, emotionally, it wears on you. The woman is standing outside with the urine running down her leg. Okay? And they're laughing and throwing her things out.
You were laughing?
Police, everybody. Because they just bring a truck, they send a truck with people loaded to throw you out and move you out. Then you have to find a way to get your stuff from where you are to somewhere. Some people had nowhere to go.
Yes.
Mr. Willis had nowhere to go. And until this day, his family was so fractured because one daughter had to go there, one daughter had to go somewhere else. Mr. Willis is 80 odd years old now, and he lives alone because he has no space, not even for one of his kids to live with him. He just lost one of his daughters who died.
He's still alive.
He's still alive. And just last week, he buys stuff and sell and make money so he can eat. And he was set up his little place down, just a stool with a tray in his lap with the stuff he's selling, like rags and toothbrush, things he know people will need. And he's out by Scotiabank down in Halfway Tree. And he called me last week and sent me a video where 2 police drove up in a police vehicle. Just came out of the vehicle, took up his stuff while they're scattering on the ground and threw them in the police vehicle and hooked him by his waist in the back of his pants to put in the vehicle. He says, who are you and why are you doing this? Why are you treating me like this? I'm not going because I don't know where you're going. And he refused to go. Luckily, someone was filming it. And the police just drove away with his stuff. No word, why, who, when, nothing, no explanation. He's left out there penniless.
Oh my God.
He didn't even have money to take the bus home. And I sent some money to him through a friend of mine, and he was able to buy some more things. But he made the mistake of going back out there, and the police came and did the same thing. I said, Mr. Willis, don't go back out there. Don't go back.
So it's just he can't. It's stopping him from being able to generate money.
It's stopping him from making a living. It is preventing him. A handicapped man. He uses a crutch. He can't walk properly. He had a motor vehicle accident where he couldn't collect a young man took his parents' vehicle driving it and run into a vehicle he was driving at the time and broke his legs. So he uses a crutch to hop and hop around. Luckily, Jamaicans on a whole are kind-hearted, so he gets help sometimes, but not all the time, and not enough for him to live a decent life. Not enough to provide him with a place that he can at least have someone with him to take care of him. Dr. Davis testified at the inquiry that Mr. Willis should not have lost his home. But what have they done? I personally have written 2 letters to Prime Minister Andrew Holness, no response. On behalf of Mr. Willis and his condition, no response. And this is, you say this is a, first of all, when we sent the letters to ask for statement of account, we're entitled to it. Also,
who did you send it to? Who were you?
it's
just
not
Jamaica?
us who sent it. What they did, Jamaica Redevelopment, it was Dennis Jocelyn at first. It wasn't Jamaica Redevelopment. Dennis Jocelyn was a debt collector out of Texas. Yeah, he
Dennis
formed a
Jocelyn?
company. Dennis Jocelyn. He's dead now because someone said he drowned out in the Galapagos Islands. It was to Dennis Jocelyn. Dennis Jocelyn formed an entity called Beal Bank, B-E-A-L-E Bank, B-A-N-K. I am assuming that this was to give the people the impression that it is a bank. It was not a bank. It was a collection agency. Collection agencies in the US are not allowed to charge interest or penalty on loans.
Yeah, not over or beyond a certain amount. Certainly not 120%.
I'm not hearing you. It started to rain here. Hold on.
Oh,
okay. It's back now. It's slowing down a little. Yeah. They're not supposed to start interest and penalty yet. When did our files were passed?
Could you I can hardly hear you. Could you come a little bit closer, or I don't know your
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me see, man. This can go up any higher. You're at the maximum, but it's the rain on my roof. That's
okay.
The noise. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's a collection agency. Yet, my understanding also, 1 second. Yeah. My understanding is that our Money Lending Act in Jamaica was changed to accommodate this entity, which later became Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation, to charge interest and penalty.
Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation?
Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation. Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation. They haven't developed anything in Jamaica. Their only purpose here is collecting people's property, selling them, and repatriating the money overseas.
Is this company still in existence today?
Because even
is it still in existence today?
Hold on a second, hold on. The rain is coming and then slowing down and so. The contract that the government have with Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation, they're supposed to give back the government at least 15% for whatever property they sell. And I understand not even the 15% they're getting.
No, is this company still in functioning Jamaica today?
Yes, it is still here selling properties. It is still here.
Under this name?
Huh?
It's under this name, Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation?
Redevelopment Foundation, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Now, they formed not just FINSAC, they had another company that was formed, Refin Trust, that was affiliated with FINSAC.
What's the name of it?
Refin, R-E-F-I-N, Trust. In other words, I guess what it was supposed to do was to make arrangement with the people for them to refinance. That never happened, not to the people that I know, not to the 44,000 people that I know.
Wow.
They never was able to plus the fact I understand also that Ernst & Young, which is a big accounting firm, had advised the Ministry of Finance then that it is illegal for a government to form private entity and use it to take people's property and sell them.
my God.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
And
so you see,
so,
they
so
had
what?
reasons.
So now, FINSAC, you said that you're the president of
the association. Well,
the
I was not the
association.
original president. The original president was another gentleman in development and construction, Neville Box. Well, the pressure got to him and he died within, I think, just about a year of the association forming. So
now, what is the purpose of this organization, FINSAC, now?
Well, from my understanding, I understand FINSAC, the entity, no longer exists because they have passed on these properties. And let me tell you, it's certain properties that were passed on to Jamaica Redevelopment. Politicians took some properties too. They won't let you know that.
Okay. FINSAC, so you now are the president
of the association. Yeah, we used to meet, back in those days, we used to meet regularly, once a week, to discuss our different issues and so on. And then we were begging and pleading for an inquiry to be done, which the PNP government would not do it because all this happened under their administration. Well, when the JLP went in power, there were two ladies that I knew pretty well, and they went bamboozling the JLP government, and they made the decision to start the inquiry. Well, the inquiry went on for roughly 2.5 years. I was there every day. But after it was finished, our understanding was that the commissioners would sit down with their legal advisors and put a report together so the country would know what happened and to prevent something like this from ever happening again. Well, that's been from 2011. And until now, there has been no report.
One of the reasons that, first of all, I just have to, absolutely, I don't even know what to say. The fact that this has happened to our people, like another abuse on top of the abuse that is
abuse on top of abuse
here, and then the hard work of people now have been taken away, and that's a lot of business, right? Yes. And the education system is very poor, so you know what, that leaves the country now open for other investors to come in and invest in and take over things, that because the people now, and when we talk about literacy, one of the reasons I was so frustrated the other day, I just went to go get some flow service. And whenever I have to go into these offices, I have to prepare my mind, body, and soul, because and I go in and able to get online, and the young man who had served me before served me again, and the whole ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it was the prejudice that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
He realized, the accent, he's reading, and then he moved in to start just making life hell. And then I just eventually just told the driver that took me, I'm like, let's just go. I can't stay here anymore. So in just maybe an hour, the frustration, and then having to get my Jamaican passport, and that for that short period of time, and the frustration, I can only imagine FINSAC and any Jamaican living on the island trying to get anything done. I don't know how anything gets done here at all. Because
and we
if
have
you go
the
through
same
the regular channels, it's just like we have to grease palms, call people.
Exactly.
It's like, what, you can't just go in and get things done.
It's as if we have no constitutional right for anything.
There is no right to do anything. And then so the people who are here, who are struggling and suffering and working for, I cannot believe wages that I'm like, I don't know how people live off this money. I don't know how people eat.
Yeah.
Right? So the wages are kept extremely low, and it's like continued slavery. Just
and
it's only
the politicians that are getting 300 10% increase for doing.
I know, right? And then they gave the little man got like it
Yeah.
was went from 13,000 to 15,000, right? This is very troubling, but and no buts. This is very troubling.
Yeah, well, you know.
So having returned now and wanting to say, all right, I'm back in, and it's no wonder I can't sit here comfortably, because who can be comfortable amidst injustice? I can't be comfortable. I'm seeing it happening here with the whole beaches, where they've come and they just prop themselves in front of the whole community, and they're taking over the beaches.
Yeah.
I'm going,
Jamaicans not entitled to anything anymore. Nothing. Nothing. I pay tax on only food in Jamaica. I refuse to spend money here to pay for anything but my food.
Well,
not
one of the
my money.
I mean, one of the other things that not just the taxes and of course representation, but even the way the government functions, there is no engagement with the people. It's like I see them saying things, doing things. I'm going, wait a minute. Our people. So the government is just doing what they do, and then they just ignore everybody else and just
because you know what? You know why?
What are you gonna do about it?
Because most of the Jamaicans who vote for them, they don't complain. They don't do anything. They just accept it. They sit back and accept it.
Yeah. And
you know, for the whole FINSAC thing, do you know at least 15 persons committed suicide? One particular couple, I imagine it must have been murder and suicide. They didn't show for church the Sunday morning. And they're there every Sunday. And their parishioners started trying to call them and to check on them after the service, and couldn't get any response. So they decided to go to the house. They're knocking on the door, no response, but the car is out there. So they decided to call the police. When they got inside, wife and husband was hanging from the ceiling, and there was a note left on the table that said, "I cannot go on one more day with the noose of FINSAC around my neck." Okay? And that was just one. That was just one. When you realize that you're homeless, you're businessless, you have nothing, and no government will step in. And we made a list of all the persons that were willing and prepared to go back in business. We asked the government, give us a chance to buy back our properties if necessary. No, we were never given the chance. The bank managers that testified had meetings with the Minister of Finance, Dr. Omar Davis, and begged him, let us work it out with the debtors. Never happened. There must have been a motive. There must have been an ulterior motive.
Like collusion.
Okay? The people who built this country to the paradise that they claimed it was, which is not a paradise anymore.
Not for Jamaicans.
Not for Jamaicans. Not for Jamaicans. And not for some foreigners either.
Yeah.
Because some of them come here and see what's going on and are not pleased about it.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing about that, I've been considering that too. I said, I don't know if I can just stay here. And you want to leave. And some of us have that option. And what about the people who don't have that option?
Yeah. People who don't have the option. Exactly. Exactly. Had I not taken up Michael Manley on his offer to leave the country on one of those flights, I might not have had the option either.
Wow. Yeah.
But I'm glad I did. And people cursed me out and say that, oh, you abandoned your country, you're not a patriot. That was what they called us. We're not patriots. We're not patriotic enough. To do what? To do what?
what was okay, and then I look at this because I really wanted to study Michael Manley a little bit because I wanted to know what he was attempting to do. And if you don't understand the whole, well, if you don't understand the whole picture,
Yeah.
You won't get it. I'm going to do some research into that because in the attempt to become sovereign and independent, where you're not depending on other nations, which Cuba did.
Right. I think
Jamaica
what I
wanted
think.
to do,
You know what
and
I think Michael Manley was. What I think Michael Manley was trying to do, and I guess it's in one sense it might have been good, is that all of us are equal. The man up in Jack's Hill should not have any more than the man down in Trenchtown. Basically, I think that was the philosophy that he was trying to get to. But it would not have happened in Jamaica. Not with the way we were brought up, not with our culture. It would not have
but the way we were brought up was the way of the colonialists.
The colonialists.
It has that system in place where you have the very wealthy and then you have the very poor. And
Right.
so what he was attempting to do is to balance those scales, because when you have that happening, you have people who have so much and then you have those
so little.
so
Yeah,
little.
But
he's
then you
trying
have to
say,
stop to, Emperor, you have to stop to think that in those days, when I was growing up as a child, I know people came to my mother and father's gate knocking, begging for food. And she never hesitated to give them. She never hesitated to help them. She gave them clothes. Our grown out of clothes were given and so on. So we helped each other like that. But then it reached to the point where not even that is being done these days.
because now you have everybody who needs, we're
Who
in a
needs.
place
It's too
where
many.
everybody needs it.
Exactly.
There's not you can't really give.
That's
and
right.
because we have gotten to that place where they've taken away you had the people that left Michael Manley era, and then they wiped out the rest of them with this FINSAC situation. So then you have all the people who are left here now in this dysfunction of poverty, lack. All that now is what has now, you've had generation after generation. And so you look at the society and it's starting to reflect that in the relationships. I hear, you can only imagine women that are trapped here. Picture having to be married, get married to a man in Jamaica that had that mentality and has been in that cycle. No, I mean, it's scary to even think of getting a relationship with men because they're beating women. You can't get in, and you can't.
And it's out, I think most of it is out of frustration. It's out of frustration, and the women are so dependent and needy.
Yes.
That they stick it out with them and hope that it will change.
Yeah.
They can't do any better, and that's the position the two governments have put us in. Cannot do any better. We are not in a position to do better. They don't help them to do better.
No.
And those who are helping them to do better, you know how many, those 44,000 businesses that was put out of business, how many employees?
Yes, I know.
Left without a salary.
Small business is the foundation of a country.
Yes.
And when you wipe that many out, it ripples through the entire.
Exactly. Because all the families are now affected.
Oh my God.
How many employees were put out of no?
You mentioned this person who supposedly drowned. I realized nowadays, every minute I'm starting to question people who die, because they can always just say that.
Yeah.
So that that's another way to just get out of.
Because there are families there are literally families that are ashamed if their family committed suicide. Because I remember the couple that I was telling you that they found them hanging from the ceiling. I had posted something on a page that I had once, a FINSAC page, and their family overseas was so upset at me for posting it. They don't want people to know. And even the FINSAC Association, you would be surprised to know how many people who were FINSAC, who came to hear what we were all about and so on, didn't want to, because at times we had the media there. They didn't want their faces to be seen on camera because they were ashamed. They were literally ashamed
Yeah.
for people, for their friends to know that they're in this position of need now.
I can imagine. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And we're such a proud people and
And
should have
we're
been
such a proud people.
after. And I mean, of course, for people like what's the name of that gentleman? He's still alive. The handicapped gentleman.
Yeah, he's alive. He up to yesterday I spoke to him. I keep in touch and close
What
contact.
is his name?
His name is Meshek, Meschek Willis.
And his home is still on the market, open. You know,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he even knows. But
Okay.
what I do, what he does, and I mean, to show you this man came from nothing. After he was FINSAC, he wrote a book that he could tell of his experience. I helped him to edit the book, and he went to printers and started selling the book for $1,000 each. And people sometimes, without even taking the book, would give him the $1,000. But he wrote on it on his experience. And
what is the name of that book?
Oh, hold on 1 second. I'll go get it. The camera, and I'll give you. It's called God is My Guide, Reform of the Mind. And
Reform of the Mind.
Yeah, put your camera here. Here's a picture of it.
Let's see. Could you hold it up just a little bit higher? Reform of the Mind. And so we can see him. Oh my gosh. Okay. What is it about?
It's his experience. It's his experience.
About his experience. Okay,
that's what started.
So,
for example,
how can is it in print? Where is this in print?
Okay. He started off. Okay, hold on 1 second.
No, I just tell me quickly, if someone wanted to order it, how could they order it?
I'll have to find out from him. I'm not sure, but basically, he wrote a thing to his readers, which told of his experience, because he's telling you about all the darkness that he experienced. He put jokes in there, and he's a very pleasant man. He hardly cries over anything. He writes about his granddaughter, the milestones he has made, the future that he would want, being lame, being handicapped, hunger, living on the street. Those are his experience. And that's what, and at the last page, he has a prayer. Thank you, Lord, for answering my call. You answer when I'm standing tall. You answer when I'm about to fall. You answer when I fail to call. Now I'm on my knees, Lord, to give you thanks for answering all my calls. And he has another one that he's doing now. He does it to make money. He sells them and make money. And people are with him being handicapped and seeing him. A lot of them also don't even take the book. He said, use it and sell to somebody else so you don't have to reprint and things like that. But I can get you a copy of it. I have 2 copies, as a matter of fact. You just tell me where to send it.
Yes,
but it is, let me tell you, it's a tragedy that Jamaica will never get over. I'll never get over it. My husband died of a broken heart. And a lot of the people died of broken hearts, committing suicide because they can't take the pain of what they're going through. And no report. They spend over 300 million to pay for the inquiry and for a report, and nothing. Yes, that's what Jamaican PNP and JLP, none better than the other. None better than the other.
And when I talk to ones and ones, because I've come and when I look at the situation, I go like, I can't be a part of this. And I talked to ones and said, you know what? Why not just establish another party? And then they tell me about the parties that were in place and blah, 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 and all these other things. And then why? And I said, listen, we need one. People need an option.
We do.
And I said, I'm willing to step forward. I have done it before. I did it in my community in Florida. and I'm willing to do it. And I looked at what needs to be done, and I said, that's not hard to do. I can get the signatures required to do that, and I think it's necessary. And I said, I'm willing to do that. And everybody, people who have been in politics that play by their rules say, no, can't happen. And I said, well, I don't think I could do a worse job than they're doing. And,
exactly.
And at this point in time, people need an option. I need an option if I have to stay here because I'd like to return home. And so would other people, but not under these conditions. Exactly. There has been so much that has been done that has gone wrong, and there has been even after paper ended, no one is doing anything about it. Everyone is just kind of moving along, and the people are still suffering. And every now and then I hear, hey, we're giving out this home and we're doing this, and I hear them talking about loans for students, and I'm going, anybody that talks about loans should be, you could
have their head examined
because young people about loans, and I'm going,
what I see happening in Jamaica, as far as I'm concerned, all the people in Parliament, PNP, JLP, are only there for retirement benefits. That's it. No more, no less.
I don't see anything other than, and I see happening now, these little things. Now we need roads, and they didn't have roads. I mean, I just came back from Cameroon, and I was so proud of Jamaica because I'm in the areas that Kingston. You think that all of Jamaica is like this until you go into some areas, and I'm going, you come back as a tourist, and I see things as I'm going, what? Why are my people living like this? Still in 2020, whatever. And others are not. And I mean, it's not adding up.
No. Our politicians don't care. Not one of them in that parliament. I said every morning I get up, I say, Mr. Gordon from Gordon House, his tears must be running down his face, just streaming every day of what's going on.
I know. My God. Yeah. No, well, you know what? I'm sorry.
But let me know what you want to do, what you plan on doing, if I can be of any help.
Absolutely. You've more or less just helped me make that decision right now. Because I was kind of like, but there needs to be something there needs to be an option and a sensible option. And the people who were in the position to provide these options, the people's
and you know what?
Political party, all these other people, there's so much infighting going on. I'm going, what is going on? Why can't we get on one page so that we can pull ourselves out of it?
But you know what? There is a gentleman who he's still in the process of doing it, starting another party. And he started years ago, and I was assisting him. The Electoral Commission would not give him permission to do anything. They wouldn't even open a bank account for him. They put bricks in his way every step of the way. Every step of the way. He just recently was able to overcome and get bank account and so on because he's tired of seeing what's going on. Yeah.
This is very concerning. I want to thank you for sharing this. I wasn't able to get to it during the last town hall meeting, but as you mentioned things, it started to kind of send some red flags up, and I said, I need to allocate time, dedicate specific time to hear what was going on with this FINSAC thing that I've been mentioning. And now I have a clearer picture of it, and thank you for sharing it so that it can kind of help those of us who have been on the fence in trying to decide whether we should go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Have a reason to, we either, and the young man from Haiti said this, because Haiti is experiencing similar things too, where the young man I'm engaging with and talking to in Haiti is saying the reason we all in the West, those of us of African descent, all of us in North America, everywhere, need to ensure that Haiti does not go under. Because Haiti strength is what overcame. And all the people from FINSAC and all the overcomers, everything they fought for we cannot sit by and just kind of let
because it could be
others.
us. It could be us. The only difference
He
is
said,
Haiti.
he said if Haiti goes under, the rest of the blacks will as well. There's no way to
right.
stand against anything if we don't stand up. And what we see happening overseas with Israel and what they're doing to the Palestinians, and the world is just sitting back and debating and marching and going, what? Where did our humanity go? Why are people blowing up children and women? What type of a person is this? And so,
there are people
just sit there and like,
I don't know.
where are we? So I'm like, again, thank you for sharing, because I was already on the fence with the whole beach situation, going, there's no way that, I don't even like the whole concept of bullying. And now hearing this, and then being bullied myself, when I went to get my own Jamaican passport, I went in the office and I was bullied by the person who was helping me, and everywhere else I go.
Yes. Yeah, I experienced more prejudice when I returned here than I did.
Bullying is it has become a part of us, because that is what the colonialists have passed down to us. And that's all we know.
It is still there.
It is still here. And now we are perpetuating that very thing that now it just looks like us, although the government don't really look like us anymore. It's kind of very diverse. You have a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a mix up. And I'm like, where are they? That was something that I kind of stood out with me again as well. So I'm going to continue. We can continue our conversation, but I'm going to stop the recording now.
Okay.
But thanks again for sharing this.
No problem. Anytime. Anytime.
So there is an attempt to establish a bank account for a new
bank account. And
he's having an issue?
An issue in the account. Yeah.
All right.
And
so
then
you tried to get him into a bank that
I knew the bank manager. And I was told by her that there's a committee that approves or disapproves of whoever wants to open the account, and the information has to go to them. And when
anyone opening a bank account,
anyone, and especially company or a political party.
Company or political party.
So they have to get it and say yes or yay or nay.
Okay.